What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. It is time to turn our attention away from FPL and onto World Cup fantasy football. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. FPL Harry here, and today we are looking at World Cup fantasy football. Yes, that is right. The FPL season has been put on hold until Boxing Day, but we're not going anywhere. We are going to be playing World Cup fantasy football. Now, some of you might be thinking, do I really want to play it? Which is absolutely fine. I hope there's some entertaining videos to come as well. We'll be talking generally about the tournament, not just about the fantasy game as well. So I'll be doing one video for every sort of round of matches. So there'll be fantasy content, of course, but there'll also be general discussion about the tournament as well. If you are considering playing, I am giving away a free football shirt, preferably to a World Cup country. So if you want an England shirt, a Brazil shirt, or whatever you want, that will be the prize. But if it really comes to it and you want a Liverpool shirt, a Chelsea shirt, then that is absolutely fine. All you have to do is enter with the league code that is above me. And then if you win the league come the end of the World Cup, then you will win that football shirt completely free. You just have to join the league now before the season starts, and you have to be a subscriber of the channel as well. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk you briefly through how the fantasy game works, and then what we're going to do is take a look at my first draft and what I'm planning on doing with my team, potentially with my chips as well going into the World Cup. There are 7 game weeks to play, so it's not a long tournament. It is a bit of fun. You don't need to stress about it like FPL. It is a bit of fun. There are 7 game weeks. You've got your game week dates there. The first game week starts next Sunday when the World Cup kicks off. All deadlines are at the kickoff of the first match. So unlike FPL being a few hours before, you do get that early bit of team news for the first matches taking place. Again, 20th of November, the first kickoff. Qatar will play in that game, of course, and that is your game week 1 deadline. There are 3 game weeks during the group stage, so that is game week 1, game week 2, game week 3, as every team plays 3 matches in the group stage, and then you have game weeks 4 through to 7, which are your knockouts. So you will get an extra round of transfers to take place between each of these game weeks, like you do in FPL, like you do in any fantasy game. There are 3 chips to play, or sort of power boost that you get in World Cup Fantasy. Your Wildcard, which does the same as it does in FPL. So you get unlimited transfers to make during that match day. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that you can't play this going into the round of 16 because you get one then anyway. So a bit like the unlimited transfers we have at the moment in FPL, over that sort of period between the end of the group stages and going into round of 16, you have unlimited transfers anyway. So that's the only time you can't play it. And of course, before game week 1 as well, you can't play it then. So there are a few opportunities to play it, potentially going into the last round of the group stage to change your teams depending on where we might expect rotation. You might want to save it until after the round of 16 and play it going into the quarterfinals, for example, and we'll discuss this and my plan later on in the video and in future videos, because if a lot of teams that you've backed on scoring well and doing well in the tournament get knocked out in the round of 16, for example, you might need your wildcard to have a full 11 players out. Next is quite a fun one, and this is a 12th man. Basically allows you to have an extra player in your squad no matter the budget, no matter the team they're coming from. So this week, for example, going into the first week, you could pick a team and then decide, I don't have Harry Kane, but Harry Kane has Iran in the first day, in the first match week of the season. I want to have him in there. I don't necessarily want to own him long term, but I could bring him in as a sort of 1 week punt. Budget doesn't matter. Team restrictions don't matter. Normally you only get 3 from the team you want to pick, but you could just pick a 4th, for example, if you think England are going to do really well, France are going to do really well in that match day. And then the final one is your power captain. So this is basically, it will automatically captain the highest scoring player in your squad for that week. It is a chip that we've absolutely wanted in FPL for a while. It has come in World Cup Fantasy. So you don't need to worry about your captain. You can change your captain during match days, and we'll get onto that in a minute, but you wouldn't need to worry about that. It would just default to captaining the highest scoring player when the match day ends. Next up is point scoring. So how do players point score? And it is slightly different. There is no appearance point for just starting the game or getting on the pitch like there is in FPL. You have to play over 60 minutes to get that 1 appearance point. 3 points for an assist for whoever it is. Yellow cards -1, red cards -2. Own goal -2 as well. But the big one that we have here is +2 for winning a penalty and -1 for conceding a penalty. So if your player is at fault for conceding the penalty, they lose 1 point no matter whether the goal goes in or not. And if your player wins the penalty, you get +2. So it's like the assist for the goal, you get +2 for winning the penalty, no matter whether the penalty is scored or not. What this means is if you have the penalty taker, like Harry Kane, for example, and he wins the penalty and then scores it as well, you will get the winning penalty points and then the goal being scored points as well. So a slight addition there. Doesn't actually matter if the penalty is scored or not, you will still get a boost in points. Then the point scoring differs a little bit by position. So we're going to break it down sort of by defenders and then by midfielders and attackers in here as well. So keepers, of course, they get +5 for a clean sheet. They don't lose anything for the first goal being conceded, again, like in FPL. But after that, they get penalised for every single goal that they concede. So normally it doesn't matter in FPL if your goalkeeper concedes a few goals because they only lose it for every 2 goals. However, second goal they concede, they lose -1. Third goal, another point lost. So you do want to be picking goalkeepers that you do think will keep a number of clean sheets in the group stage and throughout the tournament as well. +9 for goals scored. I love it. I wish they gave more points for goals scored in FPL, but it is 9 points for a goalkeeper goal. Penalty save is +3, and then every 3 saves you get a +1 like in FPL. Then into defenders, they get 5 for the clean sheet. Again, they have to play 60 minutes or more to get that. Nothing again for the first goal conceded, -1 for additional goals conceded, and then 7 points for goals scored. So those attacking defenders that have that goal threat, this could be a massive, massive weight to points. More than you get for a goal from a defender in FPL as well. Moving into midfielders and attacks. So midfielders, again, are slightly different. They get 1 for a clean sheet, again, like FPL. 5 for a goal scored, again, the same. They get a boost, though, for every 3 tackles they make. So the likes of N'Golo Kante, if he was fit, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, if you're looking at defensive midfielders, if they're likely to make a lot of tackles, they get +1 every single time they make a tackle. So it's not just about scoring goals. It's not just about getting assists. It is about this as well. Plus for every 2 key passes. So it's not just any pass, but defined as a key pass, a sort of development in play, a sort of passing forward type move. They will get +1 for every 2 of these that they will make. And then finally, forwards, 5 points for goals scored. So more than you get in FPL. They get the same amount of points for goals scored than they do for midfielders, but they also get a point for every 2 shots on target. So even if your striker and the goalkeeper you're playing against is having an absolute worldie and is saving everything your striker is putting at them, they still get a boost for the shots they have on target, which you don't get with midfielders or defenders either. So moving on now to potential transfers and how often you get transfers. So you do get 2 transfers between each of the group stage games. So going from match day 1 into match day 2, you get 2 transfers. Match day 2 into match day 3, you get 2 more transfers. Then before the round of 16, you get unlimited transfers. It's like a wildcard. So if all the players you've got have suddenly been knocked out of the tournament, you can wildcard and you can play that unlimited transfers and bring lots of them in. Then before the quarterfinals, you get 4. Before the semi-finals, you get 5. And before the final, you get 6 transfers to make. The reason they do this is because you might have players who get knocked out of the tournament and they do give you a lot of extra transfers. If you do decide to make an additional transfer to what you have here, it is only -3 compared to -4 is what you take in FPL. So slightly less punishing if you do decide to make extra transfers to try and incentivize us to make a few extra changes to our teams. Then again, there's a slight change to the amount of players. During the group stage, of course, you can have 3 players per the number of teams that you've got in your squad. So like FPL. Once you go through each of the stages, though, into the round of 16, you get 4. Quarterfinals, you get 5. Semi-finals, you get 6. And then finally, in the final, you get a massive 8 players you can pick from each team. So you could just bank, like a lot of us did in the Euros, banking on England to win the final, although it didn't happen. You could have had a lot of players from one team. The way captaincy works as well, it is a bit like Euro fancy. It's a bit like Champions League fancy. You can change your captain once during the game week, so you can change it from a player early, and if he doesn't score, you can change it to someone later on as well. So that was a brief introduction to the rules. Here are the best and worst fixtures for you to target that they have during the group stage. This is taken from FPL Prem Tipster on Twitter. Go and check them out. A lot of great and useful World Cup and fancy graphics to come during the World Cup and when FPL comes back as well. So make sure you go and check them out. Thank you for letting me use this in your video. The ones in the top left are the best. The ones in the bottom right are the worst. You've got the likes of England, France, Belgium. Of course, the best teams, the top tiered teams in each group have the good fixtures. Then you move down, you've got Argentina in there, you've got Portugal in there as well. You do want to be picking players, of course, from potentially the list on the left-hand side, but there are potentially some cheap budget options like Mexico have 2 okay games. You've got Poland in there, you've got Wales, you've got the likes of Gareth Bale, you've got Lewandowski. You have a couple of good opening fixtures, and then you can look to sell them on before they play the sort of high-ranked team in their group. So, for example, you could own Lewandowski for Mexico and then against Saudi Arabia, and then sell him before he plays Argentina. This is on Twitter, this is on YouTube, this is everywhere. Screenshot the graphic. But now let's have a look at my team. So this is my current draft. Again, if you haven't already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. There'll be videos throughout. There'll be FPL videos as well. Plus, we'll be back for the FPL season as well before it does all start, with daily uploads before the FPL season is back. If you have not and you skip the beginning of the video just to see my team, I'm giving away a football shirt to one of you, whether it's a World Cup shirt like this, like the England shirt that I've got on, whether you want Brazil, whether you want your club shirt. All you have to do is join the league code above, be a subscriber to the channel, check back if you do win the league, and let me know that you've won it, and all you have to do is win that league. But here is my team. We've gone with Bonu and Costa as our 2 goalkeepers. So Bonu is the Sevilla goalkeeper playing in goal for Morocco, and then we have Costa as our Portuguese goalkeeper trying to cover that defense. I've got 5.5 million in the bank because Frimpong, who's likely to be starting at right back for the Netherlands, is not currently in the game. They are going to add players after the squad has been updated, after the changes to the international squads have been made. They are going to make it, but they haven't made it at time of recording. I cannot see him being more than 5.5, so I'm quite happy that I'm going to have enough money for him. Dumfries, who normally starts there, has picked up an injury in the last match before the World Cup. Again, a lot of injuries seem to be taking place, but it does look like Frimpong, there was already a debate about who was going to start, is going to be the one going in there. And again, he has so much attacking threat. We've gone with Pavard because I do think France will do well in the group. A few people are not quite sure, but I do think Pavard is still a good option. We've gone with double England, and I do think it'll be Trippier and Luke Shaw that start for England. Trent has gone, but I do think it'll be these two that get in the starting lineup for England. Again, cheap prices of 5 million for each of these. Make sure I think they're really good options with good clean sheet potential and that attacking threat as well. We've gone with Alex Telles, 4.5 million. Looks like he's going to be starting left back for Brazil. They don't really have any other options in that position, and he has been selected, so 4.5 million feels like the real budget and gem we can have in defense as well. In midfield, we've started off. There's a lot of budget options. I've put a lot of my budget up front at the moment. We've got Di Maria in there. Again, he came off the bench in their final match before the World Cup, so should be absolutely fine to play. 8.5 million, slightly more expensive than maybe I would have wanted to, but I did have the budget for him, so I have gone there. I do think Argentina will do really well. Next up, we've got Bergwijn. It does look like Depay is going to be out for the first couple of games potentially, so Bergwijn I think will start anyway, even when Depay is fit. 7 million is a really nice price. Next to him, Perisic, another mid-price midfielder. He does play further forward for Croatia than he does in the Premier League for Tottenham, so don't worry about him playing left wing back for there. He'll be further forward and getting a lot of points as well. Next up is a bit of a pump. We've gone for Olsa at Denmark. He plays on sort of the left wing, is pretty nailed, and is only 6 million. Their first couple of games are pretty nice as well, and I do think they'll do okay. They could definitely qualify from their group. He's one I might use my transfer on, but I do think they start well. I do think they could be a bit of an unpredictable asset going into this one. And finally, we have Khazri of Tunisia, our 4.5 cheap gem for me, playing on the wing for them. Again, 4.5 million. I still think they could do well. Maybe won't get out of their group, but that doesn't really matter. I still think at 4.5, he could do really well. Again, because you can sub players from your bench into your starting lineup in and out of the match day. So although you can't make actual transfers, if the player that you've started on the first match day doesn't do well, you can bring the player off your bench into your starting 11. This is why you need to have a strong squad rather than just a strong starting 11 like you do in FPL. So again, I didn't mention it in the rules, but what will happen is if your player, again, like you can change your captain during the game, if the player in your starting 11 blanks or only gets one return, you could potentially bring that player off your bench into your starting 11. But up front is where the money is. It's where the points are going to be. I've gone with Messi, I've gone with Benzema, and I've gone with Neymar. 3 teams I think will do really well in this tournament. They're 3 favourites. All their 3 assets who I think will score the most goals, and I think they will top their groups and do very well in this tournament. Messi has to be in there, the main man for Argentina, and I do think they'll win their group. Benzema as well. He's slightly cheaper than Mbappe. Ballon d'Or winner. Again, I think he'll want to have a big tournament, and if France are going to go far, he'll have to do well. And finally, we've got Neymar. I was going to go Vinicius Jr., but I found the money, and we've gone with Neymar instead. 10.5 million, the same price as Messi. Benzema being slightly more expensive, but I do think Neymar will have a big tournament as well. So this is my current draft. I will have another team selection to go before the deadline, so don't worry if you think things are going to change. Once they add the prices of the other players who've been added to the squads, like Frimpong, for example, I will update it and make sure we've got a lineup for you all as well. Again, if you want to win a free football shirt wherever you are, make sure you join the league, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, make sure you like the video as well. There'll be plenty more of this, so if you have enjoyed, like the video, subscribe to the channel before we go. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back again very soon.